Welcome, everybody. Good to see everybody to our CRN summer webinar series. I'm delighted to be able to be with all of you today and to feature Ocean County College and the work they're doing in infusing career exploration into college readiness now. Before we turn it over to the Ocean County College team, I just wanted to do a couple quick announcements. One, the RFP and the program guide, grant guide for CRN 8 went out last night, so you should all have it. The proposals aren't due until the end of August, but if you have any questions, concerns or comments or anything, or you need clarification as you're putting your RFP, your proposals together, please reach out to me, jfarbman@njccc.org. Happy to talk with you, your teams, one-on-one, do a Zoom meeting, phone call, answer any questions you folks might have. So with all of that said, I'm delighted to welcome all of you to the webinar presentation today. And I'm even more delighted to turn the presentation over to our friends at Ocean County College, who have a very, very strong college readiness now program through the history of this program, one of the leaders in the state. And we're just delighted they're sharing some of their innovations and nuggets of wisdom with us today. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Henry Jackson. Dr. Jackson, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jake. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar series, Infusing Career Exploration into College Readiness Now. Myself, Elaine Chardine, who is the Assistant Director at OCC for the Academic Success Program. She works very closely with the college readiness student. And then we also brought some of our faculty who are developing the programs that we're trying to infuse our students in. So we're going to let them speak to you as well, because we felt it was very important for you to hear their work, because sometimes when faculty create degrees, they kind of go for the big picture. But what we've been finding at OCC, especially lately, is a lot of our STEM faculty and our business faculty have been offering certificate programs that allow our high school students, especially those high schools with academies, to get into those certificate programs, get 12, 13, 16, 18 credits, and be able to get right into the field. So that's been a real help for us, because at OCC, our college readiness students are, we bring them on campus to explore various programs and kind of see what's going on. So when they have that type of access to career opportunities, they're more likely to come to the college and actually take advantage of those things. So thank you all for being here today. Next slide. Let's see, there we go. So here's our agenda. Elaine and I will give the intro. I'm going to give you a description of our initiative, what we're trying to do. The first two career cluster professors aren't here, but I did want to put their names on so you'll know who they are. I will speak to those two career clusters. And then for career clusters 3, 4, and 5, we actually have professors who will tell you about what they've been doing and how they've kind of began to infuse what we're trying to do through college readiness into their program. So over the last several years, the OCC STEM and Business Department have been expanding their career cluster program offerings. And the goal of the Center for Academic Successes, which I'm the executive director of, and Elaine Chardine is the assistant director of, we've been really trying to bring our CRN students in to explore these types of programs. And it became very obvious to us very early on that the students who we work with rarely even get to a college campus, let alone really understand what college is all about. So what we try to do is kind of move this idea of college from being an abstract idea to actually allow them to come on campus and work with our professors in these career cluster programs to help them understand what engineering is, what computer science is, what environmental science is, what cybersecurity is, artificial intelligence. So several years ago, we started with the computer science program, and we would bring our college readiness students on, and we were working with Arduino boards and having them create programs and music and kind of really getting them to really understand what computer science was. And then later, I think about a year or two later, the engineering department really took off. Professor Bogdan, who was on the call, she's going to speak more to it. But the engineering department started reconfiguring their program, and they began to offer opportunities for our college readiness students to come on campus and participate in activities. And so that really kind of took off really quickly. The students really liked doing the hands-on opportunities that the engineering department was offering them. and they got to see the campus, they got to explore the campus, they got to explore what engineering was all about. And then as of late, our environmental science department is now developing several programs that he will speak about. Lincoln Simmons will speak about today. Our cybersecurity program came on. This year, we're having a free cybersecurity camp in a couple of weeks. We have quite a few college readiness students that are going to be participating in that cybersecurity camp, August 16th through to August 20th. Most recently, Intel has approached us and they want to do an artificial intelligence program at OCC. So that's going to be another kind of career track that we're going to try to tap into. And then also hospitality, tourism, and recreation. That program has been a part of our offerings for some time. And we've actually been focusing on one of our high schools, Lakewood High School, which has a large population of first generation low income students. So we've been connecting our hospitality tourism program with that. We're going to take some of our students to a farm before COVID hit. We actually had a farm that they were going to go and do some farming and actually get some hands-on activities. But we had to postpone that because of COVID. So our plan was to roll out the environmental science and cybersecurity programs this summer at the Southern Education Center, but the center was closed due to COVID. So we had to push our program back. So we've been meeting with the advisors of these programs, and we're looking to roll out everything in the spring. So in the fall, our plan is to kind of get the students in college readiness, get them kind of that 10 to 15 week program where we get them college ready. And then in the spring, offer them an opportunity to take the first entry level course into one of these career clusters programs that you're going to hear today. And most recently, Elaine was speaking to one of our principals. And Elaine, can you share what they're going to do for college readiness at their high school?
I will. Let me give you a little bit of a background first. So we had one of the high schools reach out to me with information from the Department of Education. And the information is that for the class of 2022 and moving forward, students need to meet all of the graduation requirements, including assessment requirements. So in order to be counted in the graduation rate that's sent to the state. So those students who have IEPs and are doing alternate requirements are not going to be counted as part of the graduation group. They will receive a state endorsed diploma once they meet the alternate requirements, which is usually through portfolio of their IEPs. But again, they will not, if they are doing the alternate program, they will not be included in the graduation report to the state. So based on this information, Lacey Township High School has come up with a plan. They had, in the past few years, college and career readiness classes, 2 classes for students who were kind of on borderline. They have increased that to 4 classes, so they doubled their class size, and they're taking in more students with IEPs and want to have them meet the needs, right? Have them meet the assessment goals. So they reached out to our department as part of their initiative so we could utilize AccuPlacer and EdReady to support student learning through college readiness. We thought this information would be really important to share with you. As Jake said, when you begin to shape those conversations with your high schools in your county and you're discussing college readiness and how it can help meet the needs of your students.
Thank you, Elaine.
You're welcome.
So to help you understand our career cluster programs, we've invited several of our OCC faculty who actually put the programs together. Either Elaine or I usually sits on the advisory board, so we kind of talk to them and kind of help them understand what we're looking for in terms of our high school students and our high school academies to kind of connect one another. So that's a very important part of what's going on. It's not just the professors are putting these programs together. We are actually involved in the conversations as well. So we can kind of give our input and feedback on what we're seeing in the high school. And then they work with industry professionals who they're going to talk about in a few minutes on their advisory boards to say, hey, this is what high school students are looking for, and this is what our OCC students are looking for. How can we kind of begin to mesh the two together? So our first program, as I said, this is brand new, hot off the press. Intel has put together an AI training curriculum and is offering it in community college. They just approached us, I want to say a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago or two ago. And we are now going to be working with Intel to create a new AI program. And actually, it's kind of ironic because just Tuesday, I was with a college readiness student who was struggling in one of his classes, and we were talking to him, trying to get him kind of back on track. And it comes to find out he loves computers. We had never known this. He loves computer science. He took his father's computer apart and put it back together. And we were like, wow, this is so amazing. You know, we would have never known this if we wouldn't have talked to him. And he's like, yeah, I've been in college readiness for the last 2 years. He's getting ready to be a senior this year. We're like, you know what? We'll have a new AI program that you might be interested in. So we're getting him into the cybersecurity camp this summer because of the computer interest. And I told him in the spring, we'll get him into one of these AI entry-level courses to be able to kind of work with this and see which one he likes best, AI or cybersecurity. But the goal of the AI program is to empower future workforce with AI skills for employability and the digital economy. You know why Intel wants to help build the digital workforce for the future is good visibility. They provide training for us. They help map the content and curriculum and mentor and supports as needed. And the most important thing, I think, is this idea that, you know, this industry certifications, we have this other part right here where the students can go right in, get a certificate, 3 semesters, take the AI capstone, 17 to 20 credits, they can get right into the field. Or if they're, you know, if they want to continue on, they can get into the field and still come back and get that AAS in computer science integrated with artificial intelligence. So it's our goal with college readiness and early college is really to get those kids 12 to 24 credits. So they will be a different type of student when they go into the college realm. They won't be competing with all those freshmen. They'll start competing with those sophomores. They will be competing as sophomores and replacing all those freshmen that haven't come back. So really, these programs have really been able to help us, you know, explain to them what type of opportunities they have and really kind of catapult them into a job entry and career advancement that they normally wouldn't have access to. And then our other program, as I said, the Hospitality, Recreation, and Tourism Management Program. This program is one of our business programs, and it provides a business planning and management foundation that examines industry trends, consumer behavior, guest services, and other factors that influence hospitality, recreation, and tourism. And that's a very high-profile program because where we live in Ocean County, a large part of our summer life down here at the shore is hospitality, tourism, and management. And a lot of our students in our high schools actually come out and get jobs down at the beach, Seaside Heights, LBI, and Point Pleasant, up in Long Branch. So this program has really kind of been an interest. And we have one high school, Lakewood High School, that has actually taken the OCVS, the Ocean County Voc Technical model for culinary, and they brought their culinary program to their high school. So this program, Hospitality, Recreation, and Tourism and Management, connects perfectly with what they're doing at the high school, at Lakewood High School, in their culinary program. And so they have a course that they're trying to get from the Hospitality, Recreation, and Tourism Management degree to put into their program because there's one part of their program that requires this hospitality experience. And then some of the, sorry, I went too far. Some of the jobs that are associated with this hospitality, recreation, and tourism management. You can get in the airline business, the cruise, the charter, It could be events, associations, meeting planners. You can get in restaurant and management services, lodging, hotels, resorts, motels. And again, a lot of these opportunities, especially the lodging, restaurant, and events opportunities, are opportunities right here in Ocean County that students can take advantage of right now. So again, we've really been trying to look at the types of programs we're offering, and then how can we get the students the ability to be able to go into these programs, get the credits they need, and get on and get that job that they're looking for. So with that, I'm going to introduce Professor Weiss, who is going to speak to the cybersecurity program.
Okay, hopefully you all can hear me okay. So I have the privilege of shepherding the cybersecurity program at OCC. Cybersecurity is one of the top 10 growing job areas in the country as identified by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And they're looking, the industry is looking for other ways of filling the numerous job openings in cybersecurity other than the traditional four-year path. So what we've put in place at OCC is we've put in place a stackable curriculum that identifies alternative paths for our students to get the credentials that they need to go after these cybersecurity jobs. So one path that we identify is a one-year certificate program in cybersecurity. And two of the courses that are the basis of that certificate program are adapted from our partners CompTIA and EC Council. And those courses are their syllabus to prepare for industry certifications that they offer. One is known as Security Plus from CompTIA, and the other one is known as Certified Ethical Hacker. So by virtue of completing the one-year certificate program at OCC, our students will be prepared to pursue those industry certifications, those Security Plus and Certified Ethical Hacker certifications offered by those bodies. Now, those courses are also a part of our two-year degree programs. We have a two-year degree Associate of Applied Science that is a standalone two-year degree program. And that would be an AAS in computer science with a cybersecurity option. And then we also have, based on that same set of courses, an Associate of Science that gives them a two-year degree with an option to transition to a partner four-year institution. So we have articulation agreements with four-year partner institutions that will accept those credits toward a four-year degree. So those are the different options that we offer. And we've coupled that with a seminar series that we deliver where we invite industry experts to speak about specific topics in cybersecurity. And we have experts. We've had speakers in the past representing such organizations as Chief Information Security Officer of AT&T, T-Mobile, Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, the Department of Defense. So we've had a very broad range of speakers. And as Henry mentioned, we're looking to cultivate the next generation of OCC students this summer by offering a cyber camp for high schoolers and middle schoolers. So, that's a bit of an overview of what we're doing in cybersecurity to develop those career skills that are necessary to fill those numerous openings in this growing area.
Professor Weiss. Next, we have Professor Simmons in environmental science. You're on mute. Thinking you're on mute.
This happens all the time when I teach them. You're on mute, you're on mute. Anyway, thank you for allowing me to talk about our programs for a little bit. So our program came through a little bit of a different path. Our program, of course, is certificates in industrial hygiene and hazardous material management. That's one of our certificates. And the other certificate of course, is in sustainability. So we have 2 of them that are being offered in our program. And our program, can you go to slide 2, please? Our program is designed or was informed by the BUILT model. OCC was one of 10 community colleges nationally that was awarded a technical assistance grant by the Department of Education. The grant, it was called Pathways to Credentials, and it was utilized to, it utilized something called the BUILT model. The BUILT model is business and industry leadership team. So this model actually envisioned business and industry telling us what we need to do to create work-ready employees in our programs. And to a large extent, we have followed that model. As part of this BUILT model, we have now deployed an advisory board. Actually, Dr. Jackson is part of, as he said earlier, they're part of all of our advisory board. He's part of that advisory board. And the advisory board is co-chaired by industry. And what was important, these industries represent companies that are national, some international, all in our field, the environmental and sustainability area. But we wanted to make sure that we brought those kinds of organizations to Ocean County College so they can tell our students tell us who are preparing this curriculum and our students what it is they need, and also to provide expertise to us and internships and jobs to our students. All of our discussion goes to providing internship and jobs to our students in the long term. So the certificates, when we designed the certificates, we got feedback through, we sent out a survey to industry and asked them what they wanted. And the reason I'm spending so much time on this is because we followed the BUILT model. We asked them, what do you want these students to have? And we kind of told them what our program looked like, and they commented on that. We used those comments to redesign what we did. Can you go to slide 3, please? The next slide, the next slide. So they kind of told us what they wanted. Secondarily, when we had the advisory board together, we had them review all of what we had done, and they sent back information also. So if you look this slide, the next slide, not need to look at it in any great detail. They just tell you what the courses are for both of our certificates, both of our certificates. And the last slide will tell you, the last slide, what was interesting about this last slide is that these are what we call the stacked credentials. So after we have the certificates, and then we have the 2-year degree, much like cybersecurity, we then stack industry required credentials onto those. And these industry required credentials, in some cases, allowed our students to get over $30,000 more in the work market and made them truly hireable. This is what industry required. That's what we call it, industry recognized credentials. So that's pretty much where the plan is to deploy this program in spring of 22. And we're working really hard to do that with our marketing group and all the rest of it. And under the good and steady guidance of our dean, we're working to get it all deployed in 22. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Lincoln. And next we will hear from Professor Bogdan about our engineering program.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm very excited to be talking to this topic. I am the chair of the Ocean County College Engineering and Industrial/Technical Studies Department. In the past, we've always just called ourselves engineering, but it really didn't do justice to the wide spectrum of opportunities that we have for our students. And so as you can see in this particular slide, just like the theme you've seen throughout the other talks, we want to make sure that at Ocean County College in the School of STEM that we provide opportunities that can springboard our students to jobs at any entry point and any exit point that is appropriate for their goals. And so you can see in this particular slide, we may have students that are coming from an existing job and wanting to change and improve their career directives, but certainly as the topic for today, we want to entertain and talk and inspire enthusiasm for those K-12 students. You've seen examples of what we're doing in cybersecurity. We're doing that in engineering and technology, and we continue to expand on those successes in other domains as well. So students can achieve a certificate if that's really what they need in order to move to that next level. And in engineering and technology, we have both a advanced manufacturing and mechatronics certificate, as well as a new one called technology leadership. And you'll see sort of the impact of these in the next slide. We also have an AAS degree, which is our terminal degree for those students who would come in, achieve a 2-year degree and then go out into industry. And then finally, our traditional AS in engineering is really the first half of their 4-year degree. And so we are working really hard to make sure that in those first 2 years while they're here at Ocean County College, they're getting that full university level experience, not only inside of the classroom, but also outside of the classroom. This to me is sort of the bottom line, and we have these for the other programs that we talked about as well. But I think this is really the bottom line message that says there is a spectrum of really significant economic opportunities to students that pursue any of these fields of study, both with a high school degree, as well as going all the way to graduate or postgraduate work. But you can see here, you know, entry level with a certificate on top of their high school degree is getting them into the $30,000 to $50,000 a year ultimate salary position and higher. And that's a message that I don't think everybody understands and is aware of. And so that's really part of what we're doing with the college readiness, is making sure that that message is getting out not only to the students, but the influencers of the students, such as their parents, their teachers, and so forth. And also breaking sort of that stigma that STEM is only for the academic elite. STEM careers in STEM should be an option and should be consideration for everybody. Because there's a very wide spectrum of skills and levels that are needed, because we are a STEM-based economy. There's pretty much nothing in the world anymore that isn't touched by STEM. And the more we can do to help students realize that and take advantage of that economically, it's going to help everybody. And so we have slides like this for the other programs too, but this sort of stair step and this stacking, that's why you'll see the stackables, right? We want to make sure that they can come in and leave at any step or be ready to move on to the next step for any of the students that we're talking to. And so our job with the high school, and let's go on to the next one. Our job is to inspire both that vision as well as the enthusiasm. Because as I always like to say, we can teach skills, but you can't teach enthusiasm. And so how do we spark and nurture that desire for the fields that we think are going to be useful to these students? And this is a model that we're pursuing in the engineering and industrial technical studies space. Step one looks at the middle schools, but it certainly could go even deeper. And that is establish a vision and excitement for a future career in engineering and technology. We do that with exciting activities. We also are now starting to pilot how do we reach into their educators and their support network, so that it's not just the students that are doing it, but they're getting reinforced from those trusted advisors at that level. As they move on to high school, you know, being the parent of children that have gone through the high school ages, you know, that's where they stop listening a little bit. So this is a little bit more directed, and it's how do we do peer-to-peer? So how do we bring our students back to the high school so that they provide that role model and that encouragement model. And then with regards to our own students, how do we give them both the academic topics in the classroom as well as the experiential learning? I'm very pleased to say that in our first years of really more aggressively doing student placements in jobs, we met our goal of placing 10% of all of our active students in jobs that pertain to their areas of study. Our long-term goal is to have 50% of our students have at least one job that pertains to their area of study while they're an active student at OCC. And I think that's it sounds like a lofty goal, but I think it's very achievable. And we're very excited that we hit our 10% goal in our first year. And then finally, the last part is through our alumni and our local industry, is how do they, bootstrap and bring forward those students. And we do that, we do that by trying to make sure that we have good contact and good relationships with them, so that not only are we an enrichment center for our students, but we're an enrichment center and a resource for our industry partners in the local and surrounding communities. So what are our four focus areas for K-12 outreach programs? And I do just have to take a moment at this point to acknowledge that I have great partners with Elaine and Henry. Boy, they open the doors so that we can really make this happen. And it's exciting, and we're seeing really just great results from the things that we've been able to do. So obviously we want to look at the student, right? The awareness of STEM or STEAM in their everyday life. And that is something that I didn't touch on a moment ago. My background is in research and development engineering. And without the A, we sort of lose the creativity. So we always make sure that we talk the STEAM story, not just the STEM story. So how do we establish that vision so that, especially those students that maybe are first generation, that there's sort of a great divide between their world at school and their world at home? How do we make that more seamless so they see that the academics that they're learning at school are really just life skills and they're there in their everyday life? And so that's part of what we want to do. The next is giving them a vision for a future career in STEAM. I mean, I'm an engineer, but I'm guessing that if I asked 10 people, well, what does an engineer do on a daily basis? I'd probably get a lot of blank stares. Even I'm second generation engineer. My dad's an engineer. I'm an engineer. My oldest daughter's an engineer. When I was growing up, I didn't know what my dad did. I still, anyway, I could guess. But the idea is these roles and these jobs, especially engineers are sort of backroom, we're in the background. We're not the forefront folks in a company. And so how do we get that awareness? How do we get that vision of what those careers look like and what they might be for these students? That's part of our emphasis in our college readiness activities and our outreach activities. And by the way, this slide says outreach programs, but you could really say it synonymously with college readiness, because that's what we're trying to support. With regards to the teachers, is how can we provide and be a source of professional development for the teachers in the context of STEAM? We also want to help them to encourage their students on the pathway to a STEAM career. And finally, it all works if we're all partnering together. So how do we reach out to them if they have needs in their program? Right now, we're working articulation agreements in terms of how we enable students to get advanced credits in all kinds of different and creative ways. And so that's allowing us to have really great dialogue on program and how they interlock and how we match them and how we marry them into each other. And so that partnering is essential to make all this work. The parents, how do we get access to the parents so that, you know, at the end of the day, they really are the primary encouragers of that ultimate vision. You know, they are a key component to making and breaking this. And so how do we support them? And how do we get them to be more active? And so that is another thing that we're doing. Jonathan talked earlier about our presentations and our speaker series. How do we make family friendly? How do we make community friendly events so that OCC starts to become part of their long-term life? And they see it ultimately as a place that they want to go, or some other college, right? Okay. And then finally, the School of STEM. You know, our job is to provide the role of a community resource, providing curriculum, content, activities, and programs that support students on their pathway to a STEAM career.
Pam, could you just quickly talk about our most recent idea? I think we came up with it at a gala one day.
Yeah.
about our training for teachers and our training for parents.
Yeah, so our goal ultimately is to help those folks, especially in the earlier years. You know, I've been to a number of conferences where they've talked about where we lose girls out of STEM. And they say we lose them at age 6, which is a phenomenal stat. So what's going on that we're not able to help and nurture them and encourage them? And certainly the big influencers at their life at that point are their educators and their parents. And so we've talked about possibly creating a certificate of completion in STEAM parenting, as well as how do we address and provide additional professional development for the educators in those spaces, because it's hard at the primary grade. You're covering everything. And so how do we help strengthen them and encourage them in their skills in STEAM for both the educators and the parents, so that if they're confident in it, then they're going to be we speculate that they're going to be more likely to be encouraging. But if they're not confident in their skills there, then it's a little bit hard to be encouraging. And so we're hoping to address that in some of the programs that we're doing.
Yes, thank you, Pam.
Yep.
And again, I think, you know, the biggest thing is, as everyone said here today, is it's really our goal to expose them to these STEM careers, because I should say STEAM, because we do include the arts as well. But as Pam said, a lot of times, and this is what we found out very early on with college readiness, a lot of times these students don't understand what college is, what these programs are, or they're thinking, hey, I could never do that. This is not something for me. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at calculus. But oftentimes there's so many more opportunities. And once we see them actually be exposed to this, we end up seeing them coming back and wanting to be a part of these types of programs quite often. And so it's very interesting to kind of work with our college readiness students, because we've had schools tell us, oh, no, you don't want these kids to come to your campus. These are not the right kids to get to those programs. You want our smart kids. And we're like, no, we know who we are. We know who these kids are. We want these kids. This is who we want to expose to these types of opportunities. And when they get here, it is so amazing to not only see the students get involved and want more and want to come to OCC, but to see the faculty recognize that these students can actually do these things. I think that's the most important thing that we get out of it, is that now their faculty can see, the high school teachers can see that the students who you're saying that can't do it, they actually do it, and not only do it, but they often do it better than the other students. And it changes the perspective of the faculty, because as I said before, sometimes you go into schools and they're like, you can't help these kids. Like, these kids are not the kids you're going to help. They've been like this for so long, you just can't, you're not going to be able to help them. And time after time after time, we see these students come to OCC and become and achieve at very high levels and get into these programs like cybersecurity, AI, environmental science, engineering over and over again. So, it's really important, and it's been a mission of Elaine's and I to really get these students, our college readiness students, exposed to these programs in our campus so they can make sure they're doing what they need to do to be successful. And with that, we will take questions. I will close my mouth.
Let me just start by saying thank you, thank you, thank you. What an amazing series of programs you folks have in play there at Ocean. It seems like all the work we're doing at the state level on our Pathways and Skills Collaboratives, it's right there. It's right there. You found a way to tie, you found the connection points between and among middle school, high school, community college, workforce, 4-year, and just bravo. I'm not necessarily a question, but a comment. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here when I say this. It sets me back when I hear, that you and others, I'm sure throughout the state, get calls from your high school partners, counselors and the like that say, oh, you don't want this student, or oh, you don't want that student. And all it takes is one of you who encourages one of your students, tells your student they can do it, give them that extra support, and then boom, they're off and running. And really that's our mission, right? That's what we're built on is we build minds, we redeem minds. And it's just amazing the work that you folks are doing. And I just can't thank you enough for sharing all of this wisdom with all of us today. And hopefully some of you, if you're leaning in this direction of how to infuse some of this into your CRN programs, you've got a great resource here in Dr. Jackson and the team at Ocean County College. So thank you all again for doing this for us.
Having us.
Other questions?
I just want to say thank you indeed. And I did have a question or two. Lincoln mentioned that he conducted surveys of industry representatives. And I was just wondering how many survey instruments you sent out, and to whom? Were they specifically your partners that you've employed in the past or worked with in the past, or did you reach out to new employers as well with this survey of what they need from their employees?
So we sent out one instrument, actually, one survey instrument to several employers. Some of them, so in our field, in the environmental field, we can actually go out and the directories of who the environmental companies are in our local area. So we have largely targeted the New York City area, the tri-state area, Delaware Valley, and kind of the DC area. This pretty much covers New Jersey anyway. You look New York City and Delaware Valley. And we went out to those people, but I also sent it out to, I come from that industry not too long ago. Mm-hmm. Yes, I targeted it and I sent it out to, and that's where I got most of my responses back from. I sent it out to my industry colleagues that I've known for a very long time. And they really bought in and responded. And what is interesting is that a couple of them are actually on our advisory board. So the thing was to get them to buy in and respond, and they're on our advisory board. And they're the ones who kind of told us, here, if your students have these credentials, and this is the short courses, the non-academic credentials, if they have the certificate and they have the degree and they have these credentials, it makes them valuable and work ready for us. And how do I know that? I was out there hiring these people not too long ago. So I know I have a good sense of what industry needs, but I wanted that feedback also. And that survey instrument allowed us to get that feedback.
Great. Yeah, thank you. And if I may.
I just wanted to add to Lincoln's comment there, because for engineering, we're not using the built model officially. We're under an engineering advisory council. So we're an advisory council model, but we do get a tremendous amount of feedback. I would also suggest, if you're not going to do a formal survey, that if there are local professional societies in your area that represent the trades or the industries that you're doing, that you actively participate in that. So for example, we have the Ocean County Society of Professional Engineers. That was the first relationship I established, and it picked up a significant amount of civil and mechanical engineering companies who have been hiring the students and doing a tremendous amount of support for our programs. In fact, they give us a scholarship every year as well. So that's also another route for getting connected to industry.
Excellent. Thank
And
you.
also, when I go out and I serve on various advisory committees at the high school, I see who they have on those committees and bring those people back to these guys to say, hey, you might want
That's
to talk to
true.
this person, you might want to talk to this person. So it's really a community of us working together, really kind of continuing to try to, develop and encourage not only the students, but the individuals in the community to be able to help. As I mentioned in the beginning, Rutgers University approached us. We have a Save Barnegat Bay. We have a Barnegat Bay partnership on our campus, and Rutgers approached them, and then from the work that we do through College Readiness, Rutgers approached us, and now we have Dr. Ferrero, who's in charge of one of the environmental science programs. She's actually now on Lincoln's advisory board, and she's actually working with us, Elaine and I, to go into the classroom to talk to students about getting into environmental science. So we have graduate students from Rutgers talking to our environmental science students about their careers, showing them about the places that they've been able to go. They had pictures of the Arctic. They've been on the Jersey Shore. They have pictures of their robots when they go into the shore, into the water and do the research. So really drumming up more interest, and they're actually hearing it from graduate students who's always say, every last one of them said, when I was in high school, I never thought about being an environmental scientist. Every last one of them said that. And but as they get exposed, they begin to kind of do those things. So that's the other side of what we're trying to do too. And then most recently, Pam's area, I believe, received a grant or was approved to be a training center. So those types of things too that we kind of reach out and be able to kind of connect.
I have to say that you need an advocate like Dr. Jackson. Dr. Jackson has been really fantastic for our program, just connecting us with all kinds of people who bring resources. Now, Dr. Jackson brought Dr. Ferraro to our advisory board. Dr. Jackson's on the advisory board also. And just this week, I had a really productive meeting with a firm that's building the largest wind farm in the state, right out of here. And I met with her, and they're going to bring all of these resources to OCC as a function of that. I'm having more discussions with her. So it's really important that you have someone, from my perspective anyway, like Dr. Jackson, involved in what you do, because they're the ones who bring those kinds of resources to us. We have our own industrial resources, but there's some holes, there's some gaps that need to be filled. And people like Dr. Jackson in particular, they fill those gaps for us.
Yeah, that's terrific. Thank you. And if I may, a follow-up with Pam, you had mentioned you work with K12, and we work with like mostly high schools, but you're reaching out to elementary level as well?
Yep. We just piloted our STEAM workshop with ages 6 through 12.
Wow. Okay.
And we reuse the same activities, but they can be simplified or made as difficult as you want. Dr. Jackson and I ran our most famous activity just last week called the Paperclip Competition. And as Henry said, it's always the person that surprises you that ends up winning this. It's, we give them 5 paper clips. They got to make a chain. It has some various rules. So they got to bend the paper clips and lift the most weight. And our 6-year-old, he was an engineering beast and he won the competition. So
he was the smallest and the youngest kid there. And he won.
Well, and this just tells you how it always works, because it's a very loud activity. And he went to the person her name's Veronica. He goes, Miss Veronica, it's too loud. It's scary. I don't want to do it. And she calmed him down. He made his paperclip, and then by the end, he's like, I won! I'm so good.
That's great. Yeah. And starting that early is really incredibly important because it just helps them recognize that this stuff is real. And there's real application out in the real world where mom and dad go. And I can actually do something here and work my way up. That's just.
And that's been our goal. Like I said, when Elaine and I kind of started working with the students and bringing them on campus, we were like, they really need to see that they can do these things. Like STEM is everything. STEM is the pool in your backyard, the chair you're sitting on. It's everything that you're touching almost every day, but the kids think it's something so abstract that they can't, it's a concept that I just can't get my head around. And when we bring them in and give them 5 paper clips to say, build a strong, strong thing that can hold heavy weight, they go and take off and they're like, wow, this is STEM. This is easy. Yeah. This is so great. We do a paper flying contest too, paper airplane contest in the yard, right on the grass. Students walk by and say, hey, just try to create an airplane. Just giving them the realistic perspective of what these things are. Our Jonathan has a great cybersecurity program he's getting ready to do next week. In a couple of weeks, he's going to teach them how to fix their apps, how to make sure your app's not searching through your phone, hacking out stuff out of your phone and stuff like that. Things that they need directly, that directly affects who they are in this day and time is really what we've been trying to do to make sure.
And I think just to build off of Jacob, what you said earlier, for a long time, I was an adjunct before full time, and I taught Math 023 or that equivalent, right? And that confidence builder, I always tell when I taught that class, I always told my students, somewhere along the line, someone threw you off the math bus, but you belong on this bus and you can do the math. And that's part of what this is. That's these events, they give them that confidence. Someone's listening to them seriously. They actually accomplish something that, they got stratified. Many times our students get stratified into those lower stratas, and for the first, 13 years of their life, success was defined by academic letters. And now how do we retrain them to say, no, you can still have a successful life and there's pathways to that success. Even though maybe you're not the straight A student, you're still going to make a phenomenal person in whatever career path that's open to you. So, yeah,
that's great. Thank you. Thank you.
I do want to emphasize also what Dr. Jackson was saying too, bringing the students during the school year onto campus with their teachers, shifting the teacher perception of the student. I can't tell you how important that is. And to watch the teachers have an aha moment because of how their students are reacting is priceless. It is priceless. Yeah. And then that goes on, they bring that back to their high school campus, and then they can spread that enthusiasm, or, I want to say infection, maybe that's not the appropriate word at this time, but is spread that enthusiasm and perception to the other faculty members at the high school.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, Elaine gave me one of my all-time favorite quotes. We had a student who came, again, won the paperclip contest. No one believed that this person was going to win. I mean, when she walked in the room, it was obvious that, the social issues that were going on, that she was not the candidate that everybody thought was going to win. She did. And the quote that came back was, this trip was great. It made me feel comfortable that I could go to college at OCC or even college, and that I could possibly pursue engineering. Yeah. It was just so Elaine, the bringing them on campus, having a very positive experience, it's a land that they just didn't think that they could be. And they have that successful moment, that successful trip, and bringing the faculty with them and seeing them in that, all good stuff.
Amazing. Yes. Wonderful. Thank you.
Time for one more question, I think, if there are any other questions or reactions. All right. Well, let me thank you all again. Ocean County College folks, thank you so much for being with us today, for sharing your career pathways work that you're doing and how you've connected it all to CRN. Certainly delighted that we were able to get all of those enhancements to CRN so that you'll be better able to utilize the money to better fit to all of this that you're doing. And, I look forward to hearing from all of you going forward. And Dr. Jackson, you and Elaine and the colleagues all know this. Anything you need from me, please reach out. We're happy to help in any way, shape, or form. That's across the board for all of you with your CRN programs. Anything you need, please reach out. We're happy to help. And we'll see you all next week for our third and final webinar in the series with Atlantic Cape Community College. The team there is going to talk about infusing career coaching into CRN. So thanks everybody once again. We appreciate you being with us. Have a great rest of the day, great weekend ahead. So take care. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Jake.
Thanks, Jake.
Take care.